In the quiet town of Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, resides one of the country's historic tracks, Road America. With its flowing turns and angulations, perfecting this 4-mile course requires precision steering and flat-out speed. Last year marked the return of IndyCar after a 9-year absence. A race that saw Will Power lead from pole position and take the win. A win that helped him climb back into the championship fights. In the wild Texas race 2 weeks ago, the Aussie came away victorious, starting his rise up the IndyCar points ladder. With 8 races left, the championship is wide open, and points leader Scott Dixon, still winless, looks to extend his lead with a win today.
It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. Please welcome today's Grand Marshal, President, Kitchen and Bath Americas for Kohler, Chris Baldwin, as he gives the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
Ryan Hunter-Reay, fastest in the warm-up today. Can he make his way up to the front from mid-pack? They've got to go up the hill, and then we'll see the green flag. Lined up side by side, climbing the hill.
Not a great start for Will Power. As we see, Joe New is coming up the inside.
Ready to roll from Road America IndyCar 2017. It's Penske on Penske at the start into turn 1. Castroneves leading Joseph Newgarden, who's gotten up to second, and Graham Rahal has picked up a position.
Just like I thought, Simon Pagenaud struggling on the harder tire. He defends up the inside. He lost 2 or 3 positions there. Look at Marco Andretti going on the outside of Chilton. Marco Andretti with a good run down to turn 5.
Simon Pagenaud, not a good start. He's lost 2 or 3 positions. He's going to get overhauled here by Chilton and Andretti and Hinchcliffe looking down the inside. This is the danger zone right here. Everybody gets through clean.
Scott Dixon and Graham Rahal further up side by side. This is where it gets tricky. Up under this bridge, it's slippery through here. Really tough to keep the car together. There goes Hinchcliffe in the black and gold Aero car.
And we saw Dixon in that blue car get up to 3rd position as we ride on board with James Hinchcliffe chasing Marco Andretti. Castroneves got the clean jump. It was Newgarden in that orange car that got up to 2nd. Orange and white, De Vilbiss is the sponsor. And there's Simon Pagenaud, last year's championship leader in the bright yellow Menards car. He's dropped down to 6th.
I tell you what, I think this is shaping up right now. I think Castroneves knows, Townsend, that he's not as quick as these guys. In race pace, we've got a move happening here with Will Power.
Scott Dixon looking to the outside in the blue car. They're going to go side by side here. If Dixon can hang on, no, he got pushed out onto the rumbles. It's impossible to lay the power down. So bumpy out there.
Castroneves has a 2.5-second lead on the first lap. I think he's not going to try and save fuel and just go like hell and try to do a 4-stop strategy and take off from the field, because in the past he hasn't been able to do good fuel savings, and that's got him into trouble in some of the races where he's had to do an extra pit stop.
Scott Dixon was hugely aggressive there. I think he knows he has to make a move early to try to mix up the Penske party.
Helio Castroneves, the pole sitter, getting the jump. Joseph Newgarden jumped to 2nd, moving up a spot. Will Power, 1, 2, 3. Penske is 3rd. Scott Dixon is 4th. And then the 4th Penske, Simon Pagenaud, is running in 5th.
And you see Helio Castroneves out front, Kevin. He's built a little healthy lead here. Then they put him into fuel-saving mode fairly quickly. That's going to be a key. How much fuel can you save? Lap 13 is when these guys are targeting to come to pit road. He will not hear on the radio today Roger Penske. That's Jonathan Duguid, his longtime engineer. He's the one making the strategy calls today. He's the one telling Helio how much fuel to save and when to pit. And Helio told me himself, I'm not a fan of saving fuel. Jan?
And we're having pit stops. We're seeing Alexander Rossi stopping up front. We're also seeing here towards the back, J.R. Hildebrand. These cars are ones that are going for a now 4-stop strategy. The leaders, almost all of them, will go for 3 stops today and be locked into a very similar strategy. These are the kind of drivers that are gambling. If there's a caution now, between when they pit now and when the leaders pit, this would play in their favor. If there's not a caution, this doesn't really help them.
This is still good for us, though, from an entertainment standpoint. We want to see if you can run fast, clean laps. And Alexander Rossi, just a few moments ago, thought that Ed Jones was blocking him.
He was blocking him, but he was proactive. Ed Jones was in moving over, knowing Rossi had a run, and he took the advantage away from Alexander Rossi. This is where Scott Dixon tried to make a move on Will Power, Paul, down in turn 5.
Well, he got the Pruitt fade. Will Power protected the inside. Scott went for the outside and got pushed out wide. And as soon as you get out on those rumble strips, you are dead meat. There's no grip out there. So he lost some time there, and now he's got to chase his way back to Will Power. He wants to wrestle that spot away from him and shake up this Penske juggernaut that's been going on all weekend.
Watching Helio Castroneves continue to expand his gap. Marty, he's leading Joseph Newgarden by over 3 seconds.
And Kevin, you can see how that gap has grown. Jonathan Duguid came on the radio, said, Helio, turn up the wick a little bit. We want you to widen the gap to second place right now. They're going to pit in about 2 or 3 laps. And Paul, you know, it's interesting because Helio admits he's not very good at saving fuel, and he said, this is not the best part of my game, saving fuel while making pace. So a very difficult task for Helio, but right now doing a very good job.
Well, I think Townsend, I think he's going to need a bigger gap than 3 seconds. If he pits a lap earlier than these guys, I think they'll either come out dead even, or maybe Newgarden will be ahead, as we see Carlos coming out of the pits in the Foyt car. He was moving up steadily right now, currently 14th. So he is really the first guy on the 3-stop strategy, which is, I think, still a little bit earlier. I think you're going to see guys go to 13 and lap 14, maybe 15.
Yeah, I don't think you could make it on 3 stops pitting on lap 11. So maybe the tires were starting to give up for Munoz there. But back up front with Castroneves.
Be interesting to see if he comes in this lap or on 14.
I think what we'll look for is what happens when they blend. If they don't pit on the same lap, we could see some really contentious moment down in turn 1 as one's coming out of the pits and one Penske will be at speed.
Well, he's really putting the hammer down. He's built up a nice gap right now, but the gap needs to be big. It's almost 4 seconds, 3.7 seconds. So we'll see right now if he dives for the pit lane and Joseph Newgarden stays out. Nope, 1 more lap, so he's making good mileage.
Well, I think you really have to get into lap 13 to pit and make it on 3 stops.
Well, to summarize that, I agree with you. First of all, for Carlos Munoz, that's a little too early to consider that a 3-stopper. Now you look at these 2 Penske cars. We focus in now on Joseph Newgarden. They told him on the radio a few laps ago, we are going to stop in 5 or 6. Now, mind you, that's been 2 or 3 laps. We'll check in. We think that by that gap that you're describing, when you see Joseph Newgarden backing off from the lead, typically that means you're going for 1 more lap.
In on 13, Marty.
And this is the lap that everybody needed to get to. This is going to be a crazy busy pit road. You're going to have all 3 Penske cars pitting. Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to be pitting. Takuma Sato also pitting. So all these lead lap cars coming down pit road right on their strategy where they wanted to be. Helio Castroneves hits his mark perfectly. They're going to take off those red tires and they're going to put on sticker primary black tires for Helio Castroneves. He's going to have to be held for just a second. He leads after an 8-second stop. He'll have to merge in and around his teammate Will Power, who's putting on sticker primary black tires. 7.3 on the stop for Will Power, and teammate Simon Pagenaud also leaving. They put on sticker red tires for Simon Pagenaud. Believe me, he won those primaries off because he was the only one who started on those with the guys up front.
The Penske that did not pit was Joseph Newgarden. That's the car that went 1 lap extra as Rossi goes to the outside of Power.
He's on cold tires, so he should be able to get him here. He's got to line it up and just use the straightaway here.
Remember, Rossi's on a 4-stop strategy. He cannot afford to lose time. He has to click off quick laps. He needs to make this position if that strategy is going to work.
Push to pass for both cars. He'll have hot tires and outbrake Will Power easily.
I don't know. Power looks like he might go for it, Paul.
He's going to get pushed off here if there's not contact first. He pushes him right off the edge of the road. You see the tires getting laid down rubber on the exit. Rossi's got to make this happen.
Too late.
By the carousel or it's over. He's got 1 more chance down the hill here where he might be able to outbrake him. Right here, he's got to run.
Will Power
protects.
He's going to push him wide again. Watch Power drive Rossi right off onto the rumble strip. So hard to get the Power down there. Rossi struggles. Power with the advantage. Beautiful job from Will Power to just drive at the limit of the rules.
Well, as you said, Joseph Newgarden was the 1 Penske car that was able to stretch his fuel over 4 miles longer than his teammates. This could certainly play. He slides a little bit past where they wanted him to stop, but they're still able to get the hose connected. You see them battling on the racetrack at the same time. Joseph Newgarden leaves at 8.1 seconds with fresh black stickers.
And Jan Scott Dixon knows how hard it's going to be to take the fight to the Penske's on the track. This is where he's hoping to make up time. As you see the 19 putting on those sticker flags, and he's down and away.
Here comes Helio Castroneves. Newgarden comes out ahead, but he's on cold tires. We're going to see the exact same kind of defensive driving.
He runs a little wide. He's got a nice run here. Castroneves makes an easy pass there, so he ran a little wide on the exit. Wow. That's how close it was. If he'd have had a little bit less gap and not backed off to make that extra lap, that would have been easy to the lead.
But Newgarden had every opportunity to block his teammate, and he didn't. He could have driven up the right-hand side to turn 3. He left the door open. Little kumbaya over there.
But look at the guy. Look at the guy who's in third now. That went a lap longer. Dixon has now moved into third ahead of Power. So Power has given up the position to Rossi. I think they called him on blocking. So Rossi is now moved ahead of Will Power right here. So I think there was a penalty called on that. I think, and Jan, you can maybe get some numbers in the pits. I think that Dixon and Newgarden can probably go 2 laps now further than Castroneves.
Well, here's what I think, Paul, on Castroneves is that Newgarden did that 14 lap. Dixon's on 14 laps.
He's got to run, and he blocks. He's going to come down the outside. He might have him here around the outside. Oh,
I don't think so.
Teammates side by side. Newgarden takes the lead in Road America on Castroneves.
By virtue of going 14 laps on the opening stint, Newgarden can burn more fuel on this stint. Castroneves has to now conserve to make it to the end. Newgarden with a brilliant pass around the outside.
He has been charging in this second stint. Castroneves led by 3 seconds going into the first round of pit stops, but now it's Joe New on the march.
But look who else is closing in, Marty. We see Graham Rahal come in, but Dixon is now closing the gap to the leaders.
That battle for the lead's a lot of fun, and when you go 1 lap longer, it usually gains you about 2 seconds. Left side of your screen, you see Graham Rahal leaving pit road with 4 fresh Firestone primary tires and Sunoco fuel. That's going to be the topic of the day. How much fuel do you have in the tank, and how long can you stretch that window? Battle for the lead's been fun, Kevin.
And we also, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jan.
Well, we can get an update with Tim Cindric because he just got to watch what every team strategist loves to watch, your car moving to the lead. Was that virtue of the fact you went 1 lap longer?
Yeah, I think it was part of that, and obviously, Elio's trying to save to get to the next stop. So obviously they're racing each other clean, which is the first step. But Dixon was gaining on us there quite a bit, so we could either wait for him or we knew that we could go harder and use more fuel than what Elio could.
Now that you have position, do you turn him down so you can keep that 1 lap longer?
Yeah, you just try and stay smart because that's all going to play out in the last stop. So you just want to make sure you're not a lap shorter than the guys are racing in the last stop. So we'll see what happens here.
All right, still a chess game going on with Team Penske.
And what I was going to mention is we saw Rahal pit there, so a second race within the race on the 4-stop strategies. Rossi went by as Rahal was exiting, so Rossi is still ahead of Rahal if somehow that strategy works, and it's only going to work if a yellow comes out.
Dixon is now closing in quickly on Castroneves. Now that Castroneves doesn't have that clean air on the front of his car, he's losing touch to Newgarden, and Dixon is closing that gap on him.
The battle rages on between Team Penske and Scott Dixon in the middle of it at Road America. Joseph Newgarden is leading as we get closer to the halfway mark. Now 3 seconds in front of Helio Castroneves. There you see Helio, there's Scott Dixon, and Simon Pagenaud has now made up some ground after Dixon made a run at Castroneves not long ago. Will Power back in 5th, and then we see one of the biggest movers of the race, Charlie Kimball, running in the 6th position. He started in 10th, and Spencer Pigot has gone from 14th to 7th. Pigot maybe fairly soon, and he's one of those kind of on the borderline of whether it's 3 or 4 stops, and there Pigot is going to come in right now, making his 2nd stop of the day. And he's the subject of our Chevy driver profile. The 23-year-old from Orlando had a good race here last year, finishing in the top 10, also 7th at Mid-Ohio last year. So he's good on these kind of courses, Marty.
And having a nice run today, Kevin, as you mentioned, gaining all those spots. One of these guys pitting a little bit earlier, off sequence with the leaders, if you will. The primary tire is going to go on here for Spencer Pigot, having a nice run, hearing Ed Carpenter on the radio as well. So a little bit off strategy from everybody else, but solid and gaining spots all afternoon long.
Need a good out lap here, good out lap.
What he's hoping for here is he needs some yellow. If he gets some yellow, he could get possibly back on that 3-stop strategy.
Well, we might get racing with Paul. Alexander Rossi comes racing by. Here comes Tony Kanaan. So Piggott commits to the four-stop strategy, and he'll be in a battle with these guys.
We might get a yellow at some point. These guys at the front are racing each other really hard. I hope we get a replay soon of the Scott Dixon and Castro Neves. Scott Dixon got a run on him, and Castro Neves defended very, very aggressively. So these guys, some of these guys get together. We got a tight race here from second to fourth.
And here comes Simon Pagenaud looking strong.
Here it is. I asked for it, so look at this. Dixon's got a nice run. He's timing it. He fades outside, then he goes inside, and Castro Neves moves over in reaction to him. So we'll wait and see whether the guys make a decision in the Chief Steward's office. But what do you think, Townsend?
I venture to say I agree with you. I hesitate to do it, but that's a little bit of a dirty move. Right in the brake zone, when Dixon counts on you staying in position and he goes to pop, if Castro Neves swerves like that, if I'm in race control, I'm gonna put the same penalty that Power got earlier and make him give up at least the position. On board with Tony Kanaan now as he looks to make a move on Piggott.
We haven't heard anything yet from race control, so it's been all quiet. So they've certainly doled out a lot of penalties on the number 12 today, and it'll be interesting to see if they give the fan favorite the same kind of treatment.
Chilton, Piggott, Hinchcliffe, those three right there, 9th, 10th, and 11th. And here coming up the hill is Joseph Newgarden. The leader is coming down pit road at 50 miles per hour.
And you heard that they turned him loose so he could get the lead of this race. Then they turned him back down, meaning that he did do, again, an extra lap. He is expected, and we see they have laid out brand new sticker black primary Firestones. We're not expecting any changes. He loves his car. And again, if he can maintain this kind of pace, we see Scott Dixon go around him on the outside while he finishes. We'll check in with Katie.
And Scott Dixon pits from the second position as you see him pull into his box there. The team debated on the radio over what tires to choose. This time they're going to go with Scuff Reds, as you also see Charlie Kimball pulling into his pit box, hitting from the third position. Also very happy with his car. No changes for him either.
All right, let's watch the race into turn number 1. Newgarden has them covered easily, but Dixon is going to get a spot, and he's going to jump Castro Neves and pull into second position, but Elio is on warmer tires. Can he get to him?
Sato.
No, we're going to see a yellow. Sato is around.
Sato's lost it in the kink, which is the fastest corner of the track. So that is the worst place that you want to lose control of a car. And there's grass everywhere all over the track.
Huge break for the four-stoppers.
And some of those that were on the brink, too, maybe like a Spencer Piggott, if we get another yellow later, he's a little closer to maybe being able to get it done on 3.
And you talk about when a yellow comes out, you can never predict. For those who just stopped, like Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon, they just caught a huge break. If this would have happened in between when the previous people stopped and then they stopped, they would have been caught. So when you're someone like Tim Cindric, like Mike Hull on the stand, you just make your pit stop and then the yellow comes out, you're like, whew, man, we dodged a bullet.
Restart coming up, back up the hill, through the gears. It's Penske Ganassi, Penske Ganassi at the front, and a good run for Scott Dixon. The blue car pops to the outside, trying to go around the outside of Joseph Newgarden, side by side, coming into turn number 1. Newgarden won't give it up, but Dixon is going to grab the spot and takes the lead.
I told you in the break, you give Dixon a sniff at the lead, and he's going to go for it like an assassin, and now he has taken the lead away from the Penske. Oh, we got damage with Hinchcliffe.
And Power got it to him.
So Dixon will have to run the blacks towards the end of race. We can find out on pit lane. But Dixon, if he has to go to blacks, he knows now I've got to stretch as big a lead as possible if I've got to run the harder tire to the end.
And look at the lead he's building right now. It's up to almost 3 seconds. So he's got a nice lead on Castro Neves. He chased him down and easily got by him on the pit stops.
We just looked up with Russ, our statistician. So Dixon did run the blacks on the second stint. So he's got those out of the way. He can finish on reds if he wants.
We got a long way to go, but one of the things that I've been talking about for a while, we've discussed, is that you knew it was going to come at some point for Scott Dixon. He was the championship leader, hadn't won a race, could have, should have won 2, maybe 3 others. Now again, there's a lot of things and one more pit stop to go, but this is How surprising is it, considering the way the Penske's had dominated the weekend coming into it, though?
Scott Dixon has to be the most surprised of all. I think if we would have asked him yesterday after qualifying, he would have shook his head and said, no chance, Penske's on another level. But overnight, that Ganassi team has figured out how to get the handling and the balance out of their Honda.
And there's a car off track, and Tony Kanaan is into the wall hard. Caution at Road America with 10 to go.
And that
Scott
like
Dixon's lead has gone away.
That's at the kink on the back straightaway, the fastest corner, the same spot where Sato was off, and we see this car
and the marbles
demolished. So
marbles, Paul, have been accumulating in massive fashion, and Tony Kanaan is in pain.
Side by side, here we go. Look, he comes out. He's got a run on Rossi.
Oh boy.
Oh, he breaks his front wing off. Then he's got no downforce.
Well, not only does he have no downforce, but he's in the marbles. I don't know if he could have made it, Paul, without contact, as dirty as the racetrack is. Let's watch from on board. Rossi get wide.
Well, you're certainly not going to make it without front wing.
Back up to speed as they go back up the hill, restarting at Road America. Scott Dixon trying to win for the first time, but he's got Newgarden, Castroneves, Pagenaud, and Power all lurking. Pagenaud in the yellow car darting back there. Kimball trying to make a move. Pagenaud to the inside of Castroneves, but nobody can challenge Scott Dixon through turn 1.
I think we'll see a lot of action, Paul, as they get out of 3 and go down to turn 5, riding on with Will Power right now.
I wonder if Pagenaud's running more downforce because he popped out twice on Castroneves and wasn't able to pull by. So I wonder if Castroneves has a little bit less downforce and he's just a little bit more slick down the straightaway over Pagenaud.
Remember, no push to pass on the restart, so they've got to earn it here on the power that they have normally. And there's some debris there that everybody's swerving around. Some piece of bodywork, perhaps. And look at this, the Foyt cars. Oh, this is going to be tight. Connor Daly on the outside. Munoz pushes him wide.
Further back, we saw, I think that's one of the coin cars that got pushed a little bit wide. Meanwhile, up front, Scott Dixon is pulling away. The battle for third. Pagenaud working on his teammate, Elio Castroneves. It's still Penske 2, 3, 4, 5.
Dixon is just mastered it today. He's already pulled out almost a 2-second lead in 7 corners, so he has got this race under control today.
Talking about the push to pass not available on restarts. It will be reactivated at the alternate timeline, which Scott Dixon is approaching at the exit of 13. That then trips the timing transponder. Then you have push to pass at your disposal.
Rossi with bodywork in the way. Rossi comes bounding back on the track. He'll lose 3 or 4 positions.
He's got a broken front wing. You see that front wing right here is broken, so he's going to need to pit and change that. He's had a lot of action today.
Ryan Hunter-Reay leading that train in 7th position. And now Ed Jones is going to try to go around, and Jones is going to get the spot, and Graham Rahal also is going to try to squeeze through.
Graham Rahal did not expect Ryan Hunter-Reay to break that early. He wouldn't have known that Hunter-Reay had an issue with the wing. That was almost a big crash.
Right now, Hunter-Reay slides off the end of the track. He's a lame duck right now, no front downforce, and he loses some more parts off the car.
I think that was the front wing of Munoz who got in the back of Hunter-Reay, so now Munoz loses something. 2 laps to go.
And up front, last time by, Dixon set the fastest lap of the race, but then Joseph Newgarden answered with a still quicker lap. Is there time for Joseph Newgarden, the young American from Tennessee, to chase down now Indianapolis resident Scott Dixon?
Joseph Newgarden has been begged into using his push to pass, and tempted, I should say, into using his push to pass from Scott Dixon. Dixon had 20 seconds less than Newgarden 3 laps ago. Now Dixon only 6 seconds less, so Dixon has done a great job to force Newgarden to use up the push to pass and draw even on the remaining 2 laps. Dixon looks so strong through there, Paul.
His car has been really good, and he has driven a masterful race today. I think by far the best driver you see comes on push to pass. He's got enough now to get down the next couple straightaways here and finish his final lap using push to pass to defend. Newgarden still, though, drawing closer. He's still there. You can't afford to make a mistake.
Scott Dixon's had so much bad luck the last 8 weeks. Fast at Indy with a huge crash. Mugged at Indy crashed in Texas, not his fault. So Scott Dixon needs that good luck to turn, and there's going to be one lap to go. And now they'll use up every bit of that horsepower left on the button. 14-17 on the seconds remaining. Newgarden now 15 seconds left.
Long way to go, though. We've got a long lap, so you cannot afford to make a mistake, drop a wheel in the grass, and Newgarden will pounce, and we know how aggressive he is when he wants to get by.
I think this is Newgarden's last chance right here. I don't see how he can make it work unless it happens here, and there he goes wide. That's a big gap to try to make up as they go to turn 5.
Half a lap to go. We showed you the story in our pre-race. You can still find it on social media of the young fan who was so frightened with the major shunt in Indianapolis. Wrote Scott Dixon a letter. Lucy had a chance to meet her hero this week, and she is enjoying this one. Scott Dixon is less than a half a lap away from his first win of the season and an opportunity to take a little bit more control of the championship.
Newgarden trying everything. He is using every centimeter of this racetrack, left to right, sliding right out on the exit curve to the grass, but it's so hard, Paul, to stay close to the carousel. This is a 130-mile-an-hour corner, and you need all the downforce, and when you have dirty air, you just can't draw close.
Push to pass again for Scott Dixon as he gets down the long back straightaway. He turns it off right there, so he knows he's got a good enough gap to use it coming to the start-finish line, and he has driven the perfect race today.
Newgarden's close.
This is the last passing opportunity coming up into Canada corner. One more long stretch where they'll push up to 190 miles an hour, and it's not going to happen through there. Back up the hill through 14. It was thought to be a Penske weekend, but Scott Dixon, the master, is going to take the checkered flag and win for the first time in Road America and the first time in 2017. Listen to the thunder to celebrate the win for Scott Dixon. Newgarden, Castroneves, Pagenaud, Power. It's Penske 2 through 5, but it was Ganassi's Scott Dixon who jumped them all.
Really came down to that mid-race yellow where Newgarden was hung out on the harder compound tire. But here's our winner.
Let's watch him climb out and send it down to Katie Hargan.
And Scott Dixon dethrones Team Penske for the very first win of his 2017 season. Scott, the entire Penske brigade behind you. How did you hold them off today?
A lot of it was strategy, right tires at the right time, so a lot of credit to the team. But so happy, obviously, for NTT Data and Honda. You know, this is not a track that should be suited to us, but everything just went well. And I can't thank the team enough. This was just not what I expected, you know, with all the troubles we had today, but so pumped for the whole team.
Here's when you took the lead on lap 31. Walk me through that pass, Scott.
Yeah, Joseph made it easy. He was on black tires for me, so it was around the outside. He gave me plenty of room, which, you know, I'm definitely very thankful for that. It looks like he had a bit of a moment, but that was where we won the race. You know, I was just hoping that wasn't going to be the scenario on the last restart for us, but had a good punch out of the last corner, and that Honda Power definitely took us across the line.
You've had the same voice on the radio for 14 years now. How does that change stressful situations?
Well, it's great in days like these, right? You know, Mike's, you know, always full of a lot of information and just helping me through the race, and always calm. You know, even when I get pretty crazy out there sometimes under the helmet. But yeah, just it's fantastic. Obviously, celebrating his 25 years with Ganassi Racing, and I'm just so happy. This is awesome. I wish Emma and Poppy and Tilly were here, but hi to them. Obviously, Emma's in England with her family, so big hi to them.
And Robin, he has a reputation for turning it up. The second half of the season, he now leads by 34 points.
For Town to Bell, Paul Tracy, Marty Snyder, Jan Beekes, Katie Hargan, and Robin Miller, I'm Kevin Lee. Congratulations to Scott Dixon.
Next up, it's off to America's Heartland for July 9th's Iowa Corn 300 from Iowa Speedway with live coverage on NBCSN and IndyCar Radio.